Right, guys, welcome back. This is the Above Average FPL podcast. My name's Adam, and as always, joined by Baker. Evening, mate. How you doing?
Really well. Really, really well. We've got some price leaks. We got Euros. We're in the final.
We're all in the
What's-
final. We're
Yeah,
all in
we
the
all
final.
are.
We're all in the
We
final.
all are.
We all are. So, for anyone listening on audio who cannot see, we have got wonderful FPL Fran. Fran, how you doing, mate? You right?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Doing good.
Good, man. Where are you joining us from? Actually, I don't even know where you are.
Yeah, I'm based in London actually, so I found out that we might have a day off if England wins. So maybe that's if things don't go well for me, then that could happen.
Win-win.
Win. So, how have you been feeling? How have you felt about how the tournament's gone so far? Like from a Spanish point of view.
Yeah, fantastic. I think, a lot of people at the start of the tournament probably thought we were a weaker squad on paper, myself included, but I think when we played versus Croatia, I was very happy already with the setup, and I've been watching this team under Luis de la Fuente for quite a while, and he's been quite set on playing certain players. So it always felt like our A team was very strong. But when we finally got to play Lamine and Nico, and things started gelling, that was great. And then after that, really after that Croatia game, I was pretty much all in on Spain, hopefully winning the tournament.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I looked at the first few games and was one of the games where we were trying to work out which teams had actually performed well in like the first round. And so I'd given it I'll look at the fixtures, and I had done no research, and I just said to Baker, I was like, I mean, we need to give Spain some credit. And he was like, well, not really. Croatia,
I wanted to besmirch basically Italy and Croatia more than anything.
Yeah, that's fair.
They were. I mean, Italy were crap.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're bad.
Yeah.
I was not willing to give Germany any credit because they played Scotland. So yeah, that was obviously tough. But I mean, the thing I find about England more so than anything is that we've done exactly what was required of us in every single game, really. And it's not been pretty; it's been pretty rubbish. But we topped the group, and if we'd have played the best football you'd ever seen, we'd have still topped the group, right? So we'd have still had the same path. Everything still would have fallen the way it had. But so we're there, and we'll see what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, I think Spain have been the most impressive team through it. Like, I don't think anyone could say otherwise, really. Like the wingers, definitely, but we're obviously moaning about how Kane's played and so forth. But look, Kane, Tony, Watkins, the fact that we have three great strikers that you can move around, like I think certainly that's still beneficial. You know what I mean? Then compared to most, I don't think the talent's all there for us. We've just felt like we've sort of underperformed of it, and Southgate's managed to do the right subs. Like, regardless of what I was going to say, he's managed to do stuff that have worked, and it's tough. Definitely think it's tough, the subs that Southgate has to make, because all the time you're taking someone off. Like, who do you take off? Like me last night, I would have taken Bellingham off, not Foden. But Palmer in the right 10 was exceptional, did the right stuff. So it's very critical. And whereas I think when you look at Spain as an outsider, I feel like they're just really good. Every single game, really, really good. Yeah. How do you feel about England, Fran?
Yeah, I mean, I think the attack has obviously been something I'm pretty shocked to see be so poor, but at the same time, yeah, I think someone can always point out easily that they've also been probably the best defense this tournament. Maybe it could have been France as well, but at least that's something you can fall behind. And then also when you have such strong players who can be so decisive, I say that's a flapjack, but I mean it's sort of like supporting Real Madrid, and I would know because I'm also a Real Madrid fan, and a lot of people will probably watch quite a few of our games and get upset about generally what's happening. But yeah, the most important thing at the end of the day are your results, and you're in the final just like we are.
Yeah, I wonder whether, like, because I look at the way that the front three is Spain set up, right? And you've got Yamal and Williams either side of Morata, essentially. Like, it feels like Morata and Kane are pretty similar in profile, right? Except probably Kane probably just moves a little bit more, comes a little bit deeper. But what Spain have is two wingers who are both willing to get beyond and run. Whereas England kind of force it with Saka because we just have nothing on the left at all. So it does feel like we're just not quite set up correctly, and that does kind of make us a little bit dysfunctional when we're trying to attack. And I think, as you say, the players are working in like moments at the moment, and the players are good enough that those moments, they just happen, right? Sometimes they just happen. Like Bellingham steps up 94th minute, right? That just, I mean, he's done that countless times for Madrid this year as well. So it's not like a new thing. And then when you look at, I'll go back to the Hungary versus Scotland game, and like Scotland in the last 5 minutes were really trying to push to get a winner to try and get through out the groups, but they just don't have the same players, right? And a lot of the countries don't. But kind of, I mean, I'd resigned myself, I have to say, in that first round of 16 game against Slovakia. I'd resigned myself to the fact that we were done. But players clearly didn't. And I think as well, that's why I've kind of said pretty much all the way through that, Watkins is probably better suited actually to the style that we actually have at the moment, funnily enough. But I'm not sure. I mean, the title of this pod is "Should Southgate Drop Kane?" And I think that's I mean, as questions go,
dropping the player that's your captain, the player that scored the most knockout goals in European Championship history,
your record international goal scorer,
our record international goal scorer. Yeah, I mean, like, how would you feel if it was Watkins or Tony lined up against you rather than Kane from the start?
I think it's worrisome because most of our defenders are pretty slow. So, I guess Watkins going behind is a little bit scarier than, let's say, Kane doing that, which hasn't really happened this tournament. So, but Tony, I wouldn't feel too differently about, like, I guess, the stylistic matchup. But at the same time, we have obviously like Rodri at our base, and that makes a huge difference too. So, I'm quite happy, for example, to play versus Kane, because even if he drops a little bit deeper, I feel like we will have enough control in the midfield. And I'd probably be most scared to play Watkins. But at the end of the day, I think, we do something quite similar as well, which, Adam, you pointed out, which is to play Morata for 65 minutes. He effectively, tries to hold defenders back, and then at times he'll just drop extremely deep just to defend and press, and then he'll just go back to doing nothing and sort of being, isolated for 50, 60 minutes. But I think when you have the players maybe around it, and maybe because you don't have that left-hand side, you suddenly think we do need another outlet ball that can't just be Saka. Because if you play Saka deeper as well, then there's no such ball at all, which has sort of happened in the recent game, which I guess allows Foden to do more within half spaces. But yeah, there's like pros and cons, and obviously, as you say, at the end of the day, Kane has the pedigree, which a lot of managers and most sensible people really should stick behind. And I think sometimes we're quite reactionary as audiences, and that's normal.
I mean, we talked before, Adam. I feel we're quite loyal to Kane, but I don't see. I don't think Kane's your impact guy. You know what I mean? I don't think that's the way he is. I think the beauty of playing Kane is all the things that you just said around Morata and how that he can help out. If you are getting overrun in midfield, he can drop it further deep. He can relieve that pressure. He can keep you fine in the game. Will he? And if he has the chance, he'll do what he needs to do. But if the game's not going your way, or you need to stretch, you've got the Watkins option. And if you need to push, lump, do whatever you need to do to get the ball, you've got the Tony option. But you've got different ways in which you can go off of Kane. I think there's a weird world where if Watkins starts, it's like, well, Kane or Tony, it's kind of similar in terms of what you're putting in. And if I was looking at an impact player, it's probably more Tony than Kane, I would say, in that sense. And then it's all weird. So I would 100% start Kane. But I think what we can be much more comfortable on now is that Kane doesn't necessarily need to play the lot.
Yeah.
And I think he is carrying something. Like we've watched him enough. We knew when the ankles weren't quite right, and I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if shortly after this he needs a minor procedure or something like that. That means he has a little break. It would not surprise me at all, because just doesn't feel like he's moving particularly well. But maybe that's because he's old.
Yeah,
Or
I was going
older,
to
at
say
least.
he's older, and I mean he did take a whack in the first half, and you know we can talk about whether it was a penalty, whether it was not a penalty. There was definitely contact, and when a striker comes through and you catch the bottom of a defender's foot, it hurts, right? Like it just hurts. That's like a lot of challenges you see nowadays are just pathetic, but one of those just hurts, right? So he might have still been nursing that, running on a bit of adrenaline, I guess, when he takes the penalty. But
Yeah. And that Dutch centre back pairing, especially when they're fresh in that first half, like the amount of crosses and stuff they cut out, they very, very good at reading that. Every time we did try to put it in, you were like, they're getting that out. They're big, big, big guys. None of it suited him. But yeah, I would be amazed when you've played the same team so many times as Southgate's done, where realistically the only change we've continually made to the starting lineup has been based on Gay. He couldn't play, Conte comes in. Gay can play, Conte goes out. Like that's it. You know, it's very odd to see that we wouldn't play that in the final, but maybe it's one. I mean, Palmer off the bench is just magic, and do you know when you watch Palmer for that last half hour, you're like, oh, he has to be in my game week 1 team. Because you can't stop him from being involved in stuff, can you? And it felt like that when you watched him last season. Like whenever we had that period, didn't we, at the end of last season, where he was always over 100% owned, whether you owned him or not. You kind of knew you were taking some kind of beating from him every single week, and that's what's happening when he comes off. It's gonna have some form of goal involvement when he comes off the bench, because it doesn't know any other way.
yeah,
Filthy. Yamal, how good is Yamal, Fran?
Yamal, well, controversial, but I think he is the best 16-year-old I've ever seen. And I think the biggest thing that Xavi mentioned, a couple of months ago, even when sort of Yamal was breaking out, was just the decision making at that age, like in the box, in terms of, first of all, like how measured his passes are. When he passes in the box, it's not sort of like a wild cross. It's always trying to pass progressively to someone's feet so that they don't have to, for example, scoop the ball further back and be out of position. It's always going to be so that they can take that one-touch finish. And just how composed he is at taking on defenders. He's extremely efficient, but it's not like he's the fastest player in the world. He does it with guile. And yeah, so that has just been shocking to watch a 16-year-old do. And yeah, I'm more impressed by him every match, and I think he's our leading player so far when it comes to expected data as well. So like XG and XA, and I'm just glad that he plays for us, really.
and
Any
go on.
So I was going to say, any chance we see Nico Williams in the Premier League this season, or is it Barca done?
I mean, I guess if Arsenal want to have a go at him, there's probably a chance there.
It's happening. It's Barca, isn't it? It's going to
Yeah.
Barca.
Yeah, I mean, Laporta, for example, the Barcelona director, effectively said that the deal should financially be able to be done, but we know Barcelona are under a little bit of financial stress, so I don't know. They obviously have a few wingers like Rafinha as well, so it's not like, but I think a lot of people do still want to have that sort of dynamic double up pairing. You're already seeing it work so well for Spain. Why not? Why not try and replicate it?
Yeah, I suppose you couldn't play Jamal, Rafinha, and Nico Williams, could you?
Yeah, I
Well, you
think
could.
Rafinha. Yeah, you could try. Yeah.
Rafinha back in the Premier League would be nice.
I mean, Ferran Torres is struggling as well to sort of, make do in the side, but definitely not so crowned unless you're 11-5, I guess.
Mm. Well, when Ferran plays, Ferran scores. Ferran plays. Well, what's your prediction, Fran?
Um, I'll say 2-1 Spain. I think we always tend to make 1-2 mistakes a game, and I'm sure that will happen again. It's nice that Carvajal's back. I think that makes a huge difference. But I also think we've created so many opportunities in most of our games, and we also have for once, I think we have X factors on offense, and really is those wingers, but also Fabian really playing out of his skin this entire tournament. It's been shocking to me because when I watch him for PSG, he's a little bit slower. The ability to move through people, to take the ball under pressure and drive and carry the ball. It's been something that is definitely new. And then obviously we have Rodri as well. So it's just extremely well balanced, and hopefully we can get the win.
Yeah, no, Olmo's come in, just basically just slotted right in, isn't he? When I've watched him a few times a couple of years ago for Leipzig, but he's just slotted in, and honestly, the composure for that goal was one of the calmest I've ever seen anyone try and take it past. Like it was Upamecano, wasn't it? That he went past.
Technically,
or was it Saliba?
Saliba,
Was
yeah.
it Saliba? That's even better, to be fair.
Is
Is Morata all right? Actually, I was going to say, I remember him he got taken out by a photographer or something like that, didn't he? In the celebrations after, is he all right? Has there been
I think he was grabbing at his knee, but I haven't seen anything suggesting that he won't be able to play or start. Yeah,
he'll be all right, won't he?
yeah.
I can imagine he would have been. He just didn't look great when he was walking off and stuff. He looked pissed off.
No, it did look bad.
Yeah. I mean, Fabian Ruiz, yeah, he's probably been the best player in the whole tournament. Rodri just is because Rodri is. Do you know what I mean? But it'd be interesting. Be interesting based on what happens as to who get it. Saka for us probably. I mean, Bellingham's some big goals. It's. I think player of the tournament will be based on what happens Sunday for sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm concerned. I mean, Baker, are you concerned about like this left-hand side issue? I mean, with Yamal, can you see like Yamal coming up against basically just back from injury Luke Shaw, from all that we know of Luke Shaw in the past, etc. Like,
thing is, right,
just feels like a big mismatch.
I saw a tweet, right, and it wasn't even about Luke Shaw, but it was like Spain's 16-year-old hero, and it was Yamal, and then it was like England's 16-year-old hero, and it was Luke Littler. And I genuinely, when I saw it, thought it was a Shaw and Yamal comparison, and then I realised they weren't talking about Luke Shaw. But you were like, oh god, that's what it felt like. Is Yamal against Luke Littler? I like it. It doesn't feel pretty. It doesn't feel pretty at all. I don't know what they do. I think I think they'll put Bellingham over on the left again, and he'll probably kick him.
Yeah,
I suspect that's exactly what he'll do.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me to see an early booking for Jude Bellingham try to protect Kieran Trippier. But I don't know if. I think the real positive on Shaw is that he brought him on at half time, because I didn't expect him to bring him on at half time yesterday, because I thought, well, everything goes to extra time. So if this goes to extra time with injury time on top of that, you're talking 80 minutes. If he thinks he's not ready to start, he can't do 80. Because if he thought he could do 90, then why don't you start him and then bring him off? Do you know what I mean? It would make more sense. But the fact that he had enough faith in him that he was okay to do that, I don't know if he does, but I don't know. He's so loyal, Gareth, that it just feels like it would be. Imagine you're Trippier, you've started every single game throughout the tournament and then get binned on the final. But hey, that's the ruthlessness of sports. That's what sometimes you got to do to get that win. But God, it feels tough because it's probably Trippier. It's definitely going to be Trippier's last Euros as well, and all of that. Tough on him.
He's got to win
really tough on him.
He's got to put out a team to win it. You can't be.
Trippier'd still rather be on the winning team. But yeah, whoever it's against. I don't know. At least what you're saying is I'm giving him the outside with Yamal, with Trippier. You're basically saying have that outside, as opposed to Trippier plan for if he comes off it, it's onto my better side, and it's into Rice. So you've at least got to try and block that goal that was scored, the other day where he's coming on the inside. Maybe if they just think, well, we'll take Morata for the crosses. I don't know. I think the real positive on Shaw is that he brought him on at half time, because I didn't expect him to bring him on at half time yesterday, because I thought, well, everything goes to extra time. So if this goes to extra time with injury time on top of that, you're talking 80 minutes. If he thinks he's not ready to start, he can't do 80. Because if he thought he could do 90, then why don't you bring start him and then bring him off? Do you know what I mean? It would make more sense. But the fact that he had enough faith in him that he was okay to do that, I think that's exactly what he'll do. Yeah. Yeah. Personally, I think I'd end up starting Trippier and then moaning about him.
Prediction then?
Yeah. I think it's a 2-1 game as well. I just want it to be our way.
Yeah, I'll say 3-1. I'll be more confident. Why not? Why the hell not? 3-1.
I was going to ask a question about it. Have you felt differently in watching England in this? We've got no Spurs players in this, so we've often had Fran. We've got Fran on here. We're going to talk Premier League in a minute, and you don't support a team in the Premier League. And our friend Ivan, FPL Oyster, has been on every season for us and didn't support a team in the Premier League, but does now because Ipswich are in the Premier League. But we've had a few people, as guests on the pod who don't support Premier League teams and they're not investing in it. And I've always been really jealous of them. And I'm more jealous of them now, having watched England without any skin in the game. Like I don't remember a major tournament where there's no Tottenham players in there. Kane, it's not ours anymore. Do you know what I mean? Like if it fails, it's like, okay, it's fine. It's not my boy. But you get very fiercely defensive of them. But without having it in, I've just been like all in. Like I've been.
I was gonna say, I was just trying to remind myself whether Trips was still with us in 2018. Because the 2018
but there were
was the Croatia semi-final, right? So we had Trippier,
Dyer.
we had Dele, we had Dyer, and we had Kane, and then I think we had one more. Did we not? I can't think who that would have been.
But we've been so invested for so long, and to not be invested really in terms of it, like when Saka scored, literally I shrieked in such a way. Whereas I genuinely, every ball that was going in to the box whenever I had a Tottenham player, I'd be like, go to my player, because the ideal is that I want my player to do that. When Dyer took the penalty, when he scored the penalty, I didn't want him to take it because I was so invested in it. Whereas this, I'm like, pure England team, and I'm like so jealous now of people that watch the Premier League and play FPL that aren't associated to a team, because you can just enjoy it. Whereas we're so like when we play FPL, we're so torn to I want some Tottenham. So today I was like, please Richarlison start so I can have him in my team. But yeah, no, it was good. I mean, Mainu was just like, he's been sensational. But I do think like he's risen to every occasion. But having Rodri and Ruiz, like that's big. That's big, because the midfields he's come up against have not been that mobile, and he is so mobile that he's been able to outfox them all with where he is. They just don't know where they are. But
he handled Rodri in May, did he not?
He did.
He did.
He did.
Just finding reasons to make it sound like it's going to come England's way. Right. Shall we move on to FPL? So before we do that, because we just dove straight into Eurochat, if you haven't done so already, if you want to watch the interview that Baker and I did with Harry Redknapp, you can go and check that out on YouTube, on Spotify, and all of that. Really, really great chat with Harry on Saturday before the England-Switzerland game, which was
mad.
Yeah, mad.
It's even weird hearing you say that.
Yeah, spoke to Harry Redknapp.
He's not as big as FPL Fran, obviously, but
this is true.
We're big.
Well, we're trending upwards. We're still trending upwards, is what
exactly.
we're saying. And hello to everyone that's joined us in the chat today. There's about 70 of you in there at the moment. So if you are in there and you do like what we're doing, make sure you drop a like on the video. And if you're not subscribed, please do subscribe to us. And also, if you do get a few minutes, you should probably go and subscribe to Fran as well, because Fran does some excellent content throughout the season on YouTube, which is youtube.com/FPL Fran, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So go check out Fran's content on YouTube as well. And yeah, FPL.
Tell us a bit about this, Fran. Though, tell me about, because you had a stunner of a season. Where did you finish, Fran?
437.
400, not 437,000, 437.
Yeah.
Whilst also solo YouTubing, full pressure on. How was it?
I think it was great because obviously I think I started the season pretty good, and I thought, okay, I looks like I'm on track for a decent finish, and then just got more absurd at around when the double gaming started rolling in. But I I think when you get at such high ranks early in the season, and you know that there's still so much left to go, you start to sort of think about, how realistic is it? Can I get to even more ridiculous ranks? And I sort of took a decision before the FA Cup fixtures were finalized to wild card early and sort of punt on um, almost predicting fixtures, but then also just going a little bit early during that big blank game week in game week 26. And that for me felt like I had ruined my own season because unfortunately I took 3, 4 injuries, and Foden, I think, was just nuclear hot, just scoring everything that he possibly could around that time. And I thought probably my season was ruined because a lot of people obviously, who are engaged or even had, the strategy to, let's say, wild card around gaming 30, 31, that area, or even 35, which I think a lot of people did as well. And I also decided to flunk the free hit early too. So it kind of felt like it was impossible to finish on a high, but just got absurdly lucky with decisions. Took a -16, I think, at one point, which I've never done in my life,
Good
but
work.
it still somehow worked out. Um, and yeah, I think Guardiola probably needs to get his shirt sometime soon because he did save my season.
Yeah, I mean some aggressive run though, like from going early. Do you know what I mean? On the wild card it hurt lots of people in that sense, but just amazing season, mate. And yeah, for those that don't watch you, how's your schedule? What do you do each week?
Yeah, well, I mean, I still work full time, but otherwise, I'm probably making FPL content 3, 4 times a week. The series I probably take quite a bit of pride in is just doing a cheat sheet, which is sort of, a revolving list of all the players, price based, and sort of tiering them against the fixture run, against sort of my expectations, my understanding of, what managers sort of prefer their minutes, conceptually within my head, and just the expected data as well that, some players have produced historically and as well as so far. And then that's something I keep updating, and it's sort of my, guidebook that goes through the season. I think you can also kind of build my understanding of or follow sort of my understanding of how I perceive picks. And sometimes, of course, you get things wrong, you get things right, but it's nice having that tracker there because it also makes me accountable in terms of, how I'm assessing players that I might not own. And I quite like that because you don't have to just follow my team selection religiously or anything like that. It's just more I continuously assess, I guess, the entire game as best as I can, and maybe some of the insights you enjoy or you don't, but at least it's there.
I honestly, I think the cheat sheet, like we have some staples in our community now, and like Rob T for the great work he does every week on the fixtures. Like, there's very few people that don't look at that now.
Yeah.
Like, it is really become a big deal that people, for those that aren't aware, that anyone who's ever watched our team selections, you'll see the thing with all the predicted goals for the week, and that's Rob T's sheet. It's phenomenal. But your cheat sheet, I think it's excellent, and certainly like during this Euros contents, it's been really, really popular. It's as many of us don't know necessarily all of the players, but I think it's bold because you're coloring sort of where you feel that they are, so you are putting. And you're not choosing everybody on there. So, like, for example, on a midfielders, you might have like 10, 11 different selections that you're saying, look, this is where I see it. And I like the fact that you consistently look at each of the different ranges. So, what you'll get from that cheat sheet is, okay, I need a cheap one. That's where I'm looking. Okay, I need the mid price. And obviously you're going to have some, like Salah's going to be on there most weeks, Haaland's going to be on there most weeks, and those guys. But even just having them consistently on there and being able to go, how much is the drop off if in terms of what I'm looking if I was to move off those type of things? I think it's really, really useful for people to keep an eye on. So yeah, I think the cheat sheet's big. And then hey, there's always the team selections. People want to copy the guy that was 400th in the world.
Hopefully we'll do that again.
I need to do more of that, to be honest. I need to do more of copying of good people. Just because my ranks are terrible. That is.
I think honestly, I think even that cheat sheet, like the template, we know templates are strong. like in that world. And there'll be not every player on there is like full template, are they? That's not where we're at. But it's still a question of looking at it and say, these are the good picks. These are the good picks, and I like that. What about the trending of those picks? So you do up and down arrows and so forth. How does that work? Is that you looking? Because I think normally you'll show like 3 game weeks, won't you? Forward on that.
Yeah, I'll shoot you through game weeks, but I think I try to consider really up to maybe 8 game weeks at a time. So I sort of look against, my own fixture difficulty ranking, look at the player's expected data and sort of think about how valuable that player is over that sort of run. And of course things change, right? When you have a double game week period, a player just magically is more important than others, and you just have to, take that into account. At the same time too, when you start to see a player, maybe, let's say for example, when Anthony Gordon got set pieces because Trippier was out, like you have to sort of take wind of that and sort of reflect that, immediately almost, as in I'm definitely just gonna increase my baseline expectation of a certain player, and that is sort of what I take account of. And conversely the same, of course, with, if I start to see things that I don't like about a player, like for example, Joao Pedro early in the season, De Zerbi basically said he doesn't really understand the press, but then obviously mid-season you see he loves Joao Pedro religiously, and he speaks so fondly of him enough that he's willing to risk injuring him. And those kind of things I try to stay track of and make sure that my cheat sheet reflects that. And sometimes, of course, there's a bit of back and forth. A player might rise in my estimation. Next week he gets injured, but that's the reality of FPL. Sometimes you just have to go with the flow. But try to just basically stay ahead of the game and look at expected data for their own teams as well. So, for example, defenses, as you said, Rob T's data is fantastic. But we also have, for example, just underlying data for teams. And when you see something like, for example, Arsenal becoming the best defense in the Prem, which probably no one would have said before the start of last season. I think when we're 7, 8 games into the season, maybe even 12, you start to, move into that and sort of trust that piece of data. So I look at a lot of team models as well, just for attack and defense, really. And I think as that also reflects kindly, when let's say a team's attacking data is improving, that maybe I start to feel more confident in some of the key picks within a certain team, that sort of thing.
So, game.
The game has released some prices. We've had one from every team, I guess. What are your? I mean, do we want to go? I've got 9. I think I've got 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, I got 9. I got 9 prices. People probably would have seen them already, but should we just start with Haaland?
Well, as an overall.
Or an overall?
We'll for those that want to go check our shorts, you can do it. But we had our friend Simon on this 2 years ago, and asked him how the prices were on the first day of them releasing it, and his kind words was they fucked it. And so I think when we saw 15 million, I think the majority of us were like it. I think the majority of us want a tough game. We haven't seen much evidence since the 15 of tough game. There's a huge amount to go in there. There's a huge amount to go. But I think all of us are very, very keen to see the Foden, Saka, Palmer triumvirate of prices. I just want them all to be 10 plus. But why wouldn't they be? Why wouldn't they be?
Yeah, I mean, if someone like Saka, Palmer, those guys are less than 10 million, then it is a bit of an issue. I think teams will be too easy to get to, and especially the big teams like Arsenal should be priced up right at the very top. Right, they really should be. Now I know that City don't have, apart from KDB, and again we're another year of KDB now. We're another year older of KDB now, but City don't have these really reliable talismanic kind of midfielders that you come to rely on, right? Which we get from like Salah historically, Tottenham, Son, and you get from Arsenal with Saka and Odegaard are probably the two seasons ago at least. You know, these guys really, and Bruno as well. Bruno's one as well. There's no one really else in that Man United midfield. I know a few people went Rashford at the start of last season, but there's no one who really that can achieve the kind of points that those guys can. So they should all be 10 plus, 11, that kind of.
As soon as they did Watkins, though. So Watkins finished last season at 8.9. Finished at 8.9 because you can only go up so much.
Yeah.
You can only go up so much. But he managed to get himself up to 8.9 by enough people having him having a 228-point season. You know, 19 goals.
But he has
19 goals and 18 assists last season.
He has to be the second highest priced striker in the game. There's no one else, right? There is literally no one else.
Well, yeah, he has to be. Oh, well, Isak,
yeah.
But
Isak's not going to be more than Watkins. No way.
But even that makes it more of a problem if he's not.
I agree, but there's no way he can be more than Watkins. There's no justification for it. Villa were a better side last year. If what we've seen in the past, where you know they do use league positions to like benchmark teams. We've seen that Arsenal. Yeah. They obviously they squashed them down once a couple of seasons ago. United, they did the same. Like every midfielder was 6 million apart from Bruno, who was 9 type thing. There's no way Isak's going to be. Isak might be 9. I would expect him to be 8.5.
It's tough, isn't it?
It's tough. It's so weird.
It is weird. I don't know what else to say other than it is weird.
Is Darwin going to be 9? There's no way, surely.
Darwin's not going to be 9, is he?
Jackson?
They're not going to be 9. No,
they're not getting there. They're not going to be 9.
They're not going to be 9. I mean, Haaland's average what 7, just 7.25 points basically per game, per start last season. You know, and it's interesting. Obviously, he gets a rise to 15. Salah averaged 7 points per game, finished the season at 13.4, gets a drop. I don't understand. like Watkins comes in the same as what he finished it. Haaland gets a bump expected. Watkins should have had a bigger bump than Watkins might have pens again. We always joke. Everyone jokes about like, oh well, that makes him worse. It don't make him worse.
No.
If he takes pens all season, he'll get more points than not taking pens.
Yeah.
We've
basically gone through a bunch of these players already, but I had nice little graphics here for everything.
Yeah, 15 minutes. I think everyone in the world knows he's 15.
Yeah, that's true. This is true.
But if everyone's cheap, do we just get him anyway?
Yeah, and that's it. And that's it.
What's the immediate thoughts, Fran?
I think it just comes down to whether like players like Palmer, Saka, etc. Can sort of cover Haaland captaincies at the end of the day, and if you're happy to go with those players instead, because as you say, like players like Watkins, priced at 9, that's a 6 million difference to Haaland. I mean, I don't think Palmer or Saka could, like realistically, if you're going to price Watkins at 9, I mean, how much, you know, when you said all the midfield premium should be 10 plus, that's not going to happen. For whatever reason, they have this legacy tax to De Bruyne, but
yeah,
they're not going to apply that to presumably Palmer and etc. So it's probably going to be a sea of 9.5 million players, and you can probably justify dropping Haaland if you want to, as long as you have Salah and all these other great players like Foden, Palmer, Saka, etc. So it's weird. Haaland's pricing reminds me of Trent last season. So when you look at Arsenal defense, insanely low priced, even Newcastle, Trippier. I mean, I think if Trippier was fit for most of the season, he would have probably risen in price a lot. But he felt underpriced anyways, because you already knew he was a prolific set piece taker for a very strong team, at least attacking wise. At one point, a good defense, and we definitely left last season thinking they were a good defense too. So Trent being 7.5 and every other sort of viable defender in the game being way off of him reminds me of Haaland right now in the situation with most of the price reveals we've seen today, like Havertz, Richarlison. I mean, I'm sure we'll jump into them, but yeah.
Yeah, that game week 2 is it's really interesting, isn't it? Because like that's the thing that's going to just people are going to look at it and obviously go game week 2. You've got Man City, Ipswich. There it is. And if I look at the other ones, obviously Newcastle away at Bournemouth, Man United away at Brighton, away.
Liverpool away at Southampton, aren't they?
Liverpool are home to Brentford.
Oh, home to Brentford. Who did I?
So that's a standout, definitely. Liverpool at home to Brentford. It's not. We're at home to Everton. Chelsea away to Wolves. Arsenal away at Villa. So you can do it because you've got Salah. You've got Salah as definite captain option. You can do it if Son looks the captain option, or if somebody else appeals from Tottenham. They're definitely there. It's definitely take on a ball. It's definitely take on a ball. Away to Chelsea, home to Ipswich, away to West Ham, home to Brentford, home to Arsenal. That's your first 5. The more you look at if there was a couple of teams where it was like, wow, look at those opening front 5 fixtures, then I think it would be easier to do. Like last season, and it doesn't always pay if you do get that, because Man United, didn't they, had an incredible opening set of fixtures. I doubled up on Rashford and Bruno. I think a lot of people doubled up on the 2 of them, spent a fortune on the pair of them. Didn't really work out. But this season, virtually every team I look at and think, even the £10 million assets, that they're not the greatest set of fixtures. So even like Palmer, home to City first up, away to Wolves, you're like, oh, away game, home to Palace. Who knows what we'll have for Palace for them. Away to Bournemouth, away to West Ham. I mean, you want him. Is there many where you're like, yeah, I definitely want to cap him? Liverpool is going to be Liverpool bar most difficult. I mean, Gakpo is obviously, his stock is rising, but his stock was rising before the tournament. It wasn't just like he's gone mad at this tournament. He was, I feel like almost as soon as Klopp said he was going, from then onwards, he just seemed greedier. He just seemed hungrier. He just seemed more on it. But still plenty of competition in there. Can't see himself captaining Gakpo early on in the season. He's definitely a price I'm interested in.
They definitely get a soft start, Liverpool. I think obviously with the Ipswich game, they get helped by that, and obviously with it being like the first game under Slot, right? They need to. I think a lot of people will be interested in to see how they're going to set up, how they're going to play, etc. It's not going to be the same. I imagine. Well, no, it's not going to be the same. I'd love to turn around and say like Slot will take the good bits that Klopp did and try and keep those because the players fit in that style, in that system, right? But realistically, a new manager is going to come in and he's going to play the way he wants to play. And a lot of people, will know how that will look. I'm not versed enough to care about what Slot did in the Dutch league, to be quite honest. So I maybe need to.
Mate, we got Postecoglou, mate. We can't claim this stuff. Like we kind
of knew. I suppose as Tottenham fans, we knew. We went out and found out. I'm not a Liverpool fan, so
yeah. But we know Slot's fun because we know we were looking at him for a long time. For Tottenham in that sense, in the fact that he plays that similar, very, very front footer. There's some, was some ridiculous games in Feyenoord that he had. Like I don't see a change of, when you see Klopp cheering his name on the pitch at the end of the season, like what's coming. Like he's going to join in on the heavy metal football. So Haaland maybe. Mo?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, like 13.4 million at the end of last season, but he's now 12.5 for some reason when you're deciding to move Haaland up in price. I guess that's the issue. I'm sure you can find drafts that will fit in both Mo and Haaland, but I think it's more than justifiable to to go and open the season out with Mo as your dominant premium option. As long as you think his minutes will be secure, and really, why wouldn't they be?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever way we look at it, as soon as you move into the points world, like, midfielders dominate. They always have. They continue to do so. So I do still think that's where we're going to want our money. It will be interesting if we do end up with a significant number of players around the same price, which I think we will. KDB will be there, Foden will be there, Son will be there, Palmer will be there, Saka will be there. They're all going to be in this round about 10 million price range, having 2 to 3, doing the switcheroos, do that stuff. I can see a lot of people thinking that's the way to go, especially early on before they, people that are planning sort of early-ish wildcards. You can be a bit more aggressive about it and then see how it plays out. But yeah, my immediates were probably will end up with Mo. I'm definitely no Erling curious. It's tough because the expected goals are so big. The expected goals are so damn big. But the only thing I would say, so like, his expected goals last season was like 29. And next best is 21. No. But it is just goals. And it is just 4-point goals. In that sense. Like that is it. If you start comparing goal involvement, expected goal involvement stats compared to that, then he's only got like less than 3 XG on XGI on Mo. Like Palmer's less than, or 4.5 less than him.
Yeah, and didn't even play the full season. So
yeah, I mean Erling didn't play the full season either.
That's true. That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Is I think he only actually started 29 games early in the end of the season. I think he played 31 to off the bench and 29 starters. But so minutes are pretty similar, Palmer and
That's
Haaland,
true.
But
what's
Palmer
the price going to be? Yeah.
Palmer shit on him for overall points.
Yeah, because Palmer's very creative as a player as well, and is also on pens. So,
and we could have some good price strikers, like you say. If Isak comes in 8.5, something like that, I suspect 8.5 is what we're looking at there. We've seen Tony coming at 7.5 today. Like, what if Tony goes somewhere?
Yeah.
Like, what if we're still sniffing around it? Like, Richarlison is like, well, if we knew Richarlison was playing and he was number 9, we'd want him.
Yeah.
Yes, 7 million forward that's going to be.
But if we sign Tony and he's on pens and he's definitely playing the number 9 for Ange at 7.5.
Yeah, everyone has him.
Well,
the whole world has him.
See you later. That's
done. It's done. I'm trying to find the because we're obviously talking about like what we're thinking, but FPL did say that there were things that were going to make us change the way we played the game, strategy, and new features that will change your strategies to make this a season like no other. There's still, I feel like people are turning around and saying, like, I'm going to do this, and we can't have Haaland because it means 4-4-5 and all this sort of stuff in midfield in this, and then they'll turn around and throw something in there that goes, oh well, actually, hold on, because it might. No one knows, it might be 105 million budget, right? Like, this could be something stupid honestly, like that.
The funniest thing on earth will be they do all this, and then they said it was at 120 budget. That was my dream. Was actually when they pulled out 15 million. Everyone does it, and then they go, "It's 120 million budget, by the way."
Like, this is the stupid shit that we might see. So, yeah, I think we do need to maybe taper off from people. I've seen a couple. Like, I saw after an hour. After an hour of the second set of price releases from the promoted sides, I saw on X a formation with 3 players in it. Like I saw someone building a team with slots. I was like, what are you doing?
Fantastic.
What are you doing? I'm not going to call him out. He's if you saw it, you saw it. But
That's fantastic.
I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Any others catch your eye, Fran?
I mean, Havertz is still pretty well priced too. Like 8 million if they don't sign anyone. By the end of the season, I thought we probably all thought Jesus was going to struggle to take his minutes. If you get access to him as a center forward, he's just going to be ridiculous because Saka's probably going to get a price buff, and yeah, he's actually likely to stay in his team, unlike maybe Richarlison if you guys are able to sort of offload him.
Yeah.
I definitely saw this and thought, well, Jesus was 8 million last year and Havertz has a lot more output than Jesus. So he's just immediately better as an asset. Just immediately.
Yeah, and obviously he doesn't play every game at 9, even now. Like even at the end of the season, like when he still had plenty of returns, he's still not playing every game as the 9. He's still playing games as the 8. I mean, the great stuff for him is that quite often, like we talk about strikers that are like 9-point bonus boys. This could be an issue for Arsenal defence. Like if he was playing number 9 all last season, those Arsenal defenders would have got less bonus because he would have nicked some.
As in if he was a forward last year and not a mid.
If he was a forward last season, not a midfielder, he'd have nicked a lot more bonus than he did. So that's is obviously he had many games where he misses chances. He has relatively negative baselines, but to give a few of the examples, like in the Brighton games, we're talking like late game week 32, he had 11 baseline against Bournemouth and Tottenham in 35, he had 10 baseline. Arsenal, Bournemouth, he had 10 baseline. 37 against Man United, he had 10 baseline. So those are games at the end of the season where consistently he's having like 10 baseline.
Which is a striker is massive.
That's massive. If he gets 1 goal, it's 9-point goal every time.
Like we were creaming over Jesus at City with like a 9 baseline.
Like that's where it doesn't even have to be the winning goal, but he gets a 10 baseline, he scores 1 goal, he's on 34. Defenders aren't coming near that.
Yeah.
So, it could be the amount of work that he does do. That's interesting for me. Is that we might in what we've just seen coming out of the Eurofan to see this sort of value of ball recoveries and the likes and how we're seeing like this is basically a striker with ball recoveries effectively. He could easily be huge from a bonus perspective, and as I said, knock-ons on what we expect to see some really, really big prices against the defense.
Yeah, I think it's nice that he plays much more minutes than Jesus. Like as you say, he doesn't have to play center forward, and whereas Jesus sort of does. He might only take Saka's minutes as a right winger, Jesus does, but with Havertz, he drops in, plays the full 90 minutes, and you've always got more guarantees. He's still a set piece threat, for example. And Jesus, as you know, like I mean, historically he is. I think Chase did a graphic on finishers over the last 5 to 6 years with publicly available data, and Jesus was one of the worst finishers in top flight football. And Havertz actually, he's had bad finishing seasons for Chelsea, but I think last season he just finished just above, so suggesting he was a positive finisher, and he's nowhere near as poor as Jesus is on that. So yeah, I think definitely just going to come down to how much Arsenal defense costs, I suppose.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, even that. This is the thing. We are going to look at this and say, if you go about Haaland, you're going to stack those midfielders, aren't you?
Yeah.
But we'll have some cheap midfielders do still chug along, don't they? Hudson-Odoi. We've got Nkunku at 6.5.
I think it's
a good point, actually.
Like if this guy gets a run in, and he's just playing off Jackson, or if Jackson's playing off him, I mean, like I don't even know how that. We saw that dynamic at the start of last season, but yeah, as you say, Hudson-Odoi 5.5 is good. Like he was
Good.
decent end of the season, lots of output.
How
There are some
many
there.
is my stat of the day for you. How many defenders do you think scored more points than Bruno Guimaraes last season? You can probably say Bruno Guimaraes slightly better than me, Fran, if you want to say that in a better pronunciation. But how many defenders do you think scored more points than Bruno G?
I don't know that there were
7.
if that
He-
if that to
Was
be
he
honest,
ever on your cheat sheet? Was he at any point on your
Not
cheat
really.
sheet in
Not
38
really.
game weeks?
because the defenders were pretty bang average. They were only like topped out at like 140 points, wasn't it? Something like that. There weren't any big point scorers in defense. Bruno
He
G
got
is probably about
153 points, mate.
yeah.
He got 153 points tucking along on that, and the only two was Ben White and Saliba. That's it. Like some of these cheap midfielders do. Like, so I think we'll straight go into the defense, but probably acknowledge that like 150 point plus mid defenders. There's not that many around. I think I still will think I want to focus a lot of my money up top, and I can see myself going, especially because the fixtures aren't that great. I think Vardy is going to be really hard to resist whatever he comes in for me. Like, I think he's going to be difficult.
I think.
Um,
I mean, I haven't. Have we looked at? Has anyone come out and talked about fixture swings yet? Because the first thing that I did with the Spurs fixtures, in particular, and I haven't gone through the rest of them, but the first thing I did with the Spurs fixtures was looked at, periods of the season where we either have favourable runs or challenging runs, and we do that every year, right? We had, if you think game week 33, 44, 34, 35, around that time last year, we went into like all of the top 5. But I don't think there's actually more than 2 games in a row where either significantly favourable or significantly harsh for Spurs this season.
So it's a lot for a lot of the teams. Like a lot of the teams, it's like, yeah, it's all right. which I don't mind, because I just think that means good the old good players, good teams. Like that's we're straight into cliches. Good players, good teams.
But it mixes up what kind of strategies people are going to use, right? And again,
yeah,
we're saying this as if nothing's going to change in the game. People are talking about first half of the season chips and second half of the season chips and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But all things being equal, the fixtures appear to be more level. I don't know how to phrase that. Rather than polarizing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's tough to sort of spot like an immediate wildcard window. Whereas most seasons, I think most people are happy to jump on, say, stack, 2-3 of Liverpool and then move on to another great team's run, that sort of thing. But this season,
do you think it'll be later? Do you think there'll be a lot of people try to play late as possible?
it's a weird one because I think, because some of the more engaged managers might have felt that with this sort of pricing anyways, it's not like you need to chase price rises. And I think the only not the only value, but the main value of wildcarding early is that sort of stacking up of price rises, and people are a little bit cooler on that nowadays than ever before. So as long as your team's ticking well, and it seems like just based on the fixtures, you're not going to be stacked on multiple teams anyways. So you're probably just changing certain players at a time. I don't know if they're going to change like the transfer logic of the game at all, but some people who like, saving transfers and things like that are happy to wildcard when they have a problem. And presumably this could be that type of season, right? You just wait for your team to sort of capitulate itself and then you pull the trigger.
Any other prices? Adam, you got any?
So yeah, Mateta 7.5. I think that's enough to keep him out, to be honest. Just because of the Elise move and the rumours on Eze as well. I just think that maybe he's not going to be as functional.
I mean, he hurt me a lot last season. I never didn't own Fran, you couldn't have been where you finished and not had some Mateta.
I didn't own him at all. No.
You didn't own him at all?
I mean, on game week 34, I think I had a 30-point red arrow.
Oh, yeah, I do
Wow.
remember.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was,
God.
yeah. It was quite a glorious swing, but I think he was running hot anyways, right? Yeah, I know he was scoring plenty of goals. And
Yeah.
of course, when you watch the games back then, they were really destroying teams. It wasn't like long shot screamers and things like that, but
He's
yeah,
got the Olympics as well, hasn't he?
yeah. So he will potentially come in late for game week 1.
Yeah, he's a no. He's a straight on.
They only did 2 keepers, right? So they did obviously, but they did Pickford and Leno. Pickford obviously goes up from 4.5 to 5. Just makes him more. He just gets into that range where you want a good defense behind him, and I don't think he was picking up enough of the bonus last year, was he?
It's always been the same. If there's a chance that Michael Keane's playing, you don't have Pickford. If there's a chance that Michael Keane's not playing, you have Pickford. It's just that's the golden rule of Pickford. Michael Keane equals no. Polina obviously is gone today, so that is an impact on Leno.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd favour Pickford over him probably anyway.
We'll see what 4-5 keepers we do get. As I said, they might all just be priced 5 and up, and we get 110 million instead. You never know.
Good times.
And then Leif Davis was the other one. I assume this is him. I typed it into Google and this
that
came
him.
up.
Yeah, that is him.
The only thing I had on the FPL website was a picture of him in a Leeds shirt.
We will have Ivan on to talk about Leif, but I've had to listen. I've had to. Makes it sound like I'm a prisoner in a chat with Ivan. Sorry, Ivan. But like I feel like I've been on the Ipswich journey because Ivan is a huge Ipswich fan and literally we'll talk about every single game that Ipswich played for the last 2 years. So
it's because he doesn't talk about rank
journey with him. Yeah.
There's nothing to talk about FPL wise. He's just
and just great fun. And look, when it comes on, if you get what I've had from him, the infused for the last 2 years and the enjoyment they've had for the last 2 years, it's just been wonderful. But Leif, like for the whole season, he's like, God, this man, like he's just relentless. You know, we are going to naturally compare him to Alfie Doughty, but he's different. He's different. You know, the assist numbers, you know, that's the bit that people are gonna go, oh, 2 goals, 18 assists, whatever. Oh, he's just an assist monster, just what it is. But he has a lot of shots. Do you know what I mean? He has a lot of crosses. There's a lot of open play involvement on it. I messaged you guys earlier, like half a shot basically inside the penalty area per game. That's big numbers for a defender, like big numbers. You look at his heat maps, he's well off his wing a lot of the time. And 4 key passes per game on average in the Championship from all different types of places, whether it be open play, crosses, corners, free kicks, like it and the majority of it is non-set piece, not set piece. So it's not. What did you say? Fran, you checked, didn't you?
Yeah, I actually had to look into it. So because I think he only took around 20% of their corners last season. And yeah, I mean his underlying data is just obscene for a defender. I was looking at Doughty and you know, maybe how he translated his championship sort of underlying data to the Prem, and actually it was pretty much a like for like match. So I mean, if a player like that can translate even 70% of that, I mean, he's already slightly better than Doughty. So incredible on paper, but once again with defenders, you know, the clean sheets are so important as well. And we'll see whether we need to fit him our
He'll
teams.
be on your 4.5 cheat sheet, Fran. I know.
He will be for sure. But yeah, I'm keen to see, of course, you know, how else teams are priced, because you know you see Pickford at 5, Leno at 5. It seems like they're respecting defender prices a touch more than previously, but you never know.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be. I need to find out more about this guy, because if what you're saying is true, like 0.5 shots roughly per 90 inside the penalty area, like he plays left back, right?
Yep.
So if he's playing against teams in the Premier League, like they're just going to get pummeled like 4-1, 4-0, right?
I mean,
So which is not what you need, because then he starts on 0.
So he plays left back, yeah. Who's he got first game of the season? Liverpool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Who
right,
plays on the right?
Salah, yeah, cool. It's gonna be fun.
Man City next.
And then he's got Man City.
Cool.
I mean, you'd smash Doku against him, wouldn't you? Straight away, if you're Pep, you're like, "Guys, there you go, Jeremy." It goes to life. It's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating. That's why we will need to do vibing about how we see those first couple of games playing out. But for me, it just seems like they will toe to toe it. I just think, the fact that they're buying all of their, when teams used to come up, you would always used to see like the same journeyman who have just gone down last season. It was like, yeah, put them in. I remember something like that. Do you remember? I mean, Fran, you're not old enough for this game, but Nigel Quasi basically got relegated like 5 times in
like
6 seasons.
QPR and West Ham, and it just kept going.
It just kept buying him and going down. That doesn't happen anymore. These teams, are quite comfortable that the Championship is a good league, and actually that they're willing to play progressive. And if it goes down, doing it, but they're in the best position to go back up again. You can see that with the position, what they're trying to do now at Switch is almost batter their rivals, like the whole guys, and say, hey, you didn't come up, we did, we're taking your best guys. I expect them to go toe to toe, and that will definitely make some fun games for it. But there'll also be some shocks. I think they will turn someone big over. Be interesting.
Or they'll just end up with 5 points at the end of the season, kind of thing.
I did want to ask Fran a question about Anthony Gordon before we go, because big man in the data, Fran. We've got Anthony Gordon. Doesn't take pens. If Trippier's playing, doesn't take many set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Routes to points and all that business, and how he is. He's 7.5. Feels a relatively good price. Do you expect to see him in many teams? Do you expect?
I think what's
like a grass pick? Does he feel like
not a grass pick at all? But I think I think the big thing that you point to is like maybe routes to bonus might not be great if he's not on these sort of set pieces and things. And you can have faith, obviously, that Newcastle are a top offense. But I'm not sure. I think Bruno might be set to stay, to be honest. That could be a huge part of it as well.
Yeah.
And I think the scary thing with him, I suppose, is his ceiling is just not going to be that high. So at 7.5 mil, he's probably going to be the type of pick you only go for during a fixture run. And I do like him. As I said, anytime you see a team have such good expected data and a certain player has 90 minutes a game, can play different roles, can sort of probably will play less of center forward as long as Isak can stay fit. But anytime a player can do that, I think people sort of neglect how valuable that is at times compared to a very sort of flashy player like let's say a Hudson-Odoi. And that's the only sort of, I think, value to him, because it seems like he's been correctly priced, and we're yet to know what the premiums are sort of like, or the sub premiums, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, the first game's home to Southampton, which I think there'll be a lot of week-long casuals, the guys that see home to Southampton. I want Gordon in my team going week 1, but I do think there'll be a considerable. I can just see a considerable amount of the FPL Twitter community. I think he might be one that, especially that there will be narratives of saying 3 away games in the first 5, blah blah blah. That's where we'll be. I can just see him being somebody that, with all these other midfielders, and especially if people don't do Haaland, that they'll be like, he's my one I'm not doing.
Mm-hmm.
But he's been bloody good. He's been bloody good. And Bruno is also, I mean, the fixtures are interesting for Bruno Fernandes. That is not Bruno Guimaraes, despite the fact that Bruno Guimaraes, got plenty of points. An extra $1 million gets you Bruno Fernandes. There'll be some look at it. We'll see how pre-season plays out.
I think that's plenty for now. I think that's plenty. To be fair, that's
Got 20 players, and
40 minutes on 20 players. This is incredible, and we don't even know how the game's going to change.
Yep,
we are.
Yeah, it's true.
We're terrible, aren't we? But we love it.
we
love it, as do 90 people who are watching, which is amazing.
30.
Cool. 23 likes. That's a joke. Surely my thing's wrong. Right? Surely that can't be right.
Must be wrong. It must be
I'm
wrong.
gonna be.
I'm sure if you refresh that in 10 minutes, it'll suddenly magically be better.
Well, it's gone up to 24, which is good. But
I just pressed like.
I think that was me as well.
Yeah.
So. Oh, nice. I've done it as well. There's 24.
Cool.
Fran, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it, and good luck with your content, particularly this
thank
season.
you for having me on. Good to tune into more episodes, and hope you guys have a wonderful season.
Cool, man.
I love that you good luck with your content.
Yeah, not for Sunday.
not
with my season.
Absolutely not for Sunday. No.
Not for Sunday whatsoever.
That's not happening. You're not getting any of that from me.
I hope you have a beautiful Saturday and most of Sunday.
Yeah. I hope a lot of people have called it a holiday just to refresh themselves from the loss on Sunday. So that'll be nice.
That'd be nice.
Right.
That'd be nice.
Thanks everyone in the chat. Thanks everyone that's made it this far, listening, etc. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, review, all of that good stuff, and we will be back when FPL give us a little bit more information. We'll catch you later.
See you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, mate.